Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Now in this video, we have our weekly update on our yield farming positions. So yeah, let's just jump straight into it. Actually, before we do jump into it, I wanted to ask one more time, if anyone wants I'm thinking about creating a yield farming specific Discord server. I do have a free Discord server right now. It's been going for a number of years. But I was thinking about creating one specifically for yield farming and creating sustainable yield in DeFi. So if that's of any use or any interest, just comment down below in the comments Discord, and I will probably create it if there's enough people and send out the link. So with that being said, let's jump into it. So crypto Bitcoin is up over the past 7 days. We did actually take a bit of a dip over the past day or so. We went up to around $73,000, and then we have taken a slight dip since then, and we're currently hovering around 71k. So that is the market. ETH sat at 2185, and again, ETH done pretty well over the past week. Actually, it did take some losses over the weekend, but we went up to like 2300, and then obviously started to come down over Saturday and Sunday. So let's have a look at DeFi Llama before we get into the positions. If you are yield farming, you don't use DeFi Llama. DeFi Llama is a fantastic tool to not only find yields, you can find yields on here, but also you can see the DeFi metrics. So the main thing that I like to look at is TVL in DeFi, which right now is currently $94.32 billion. And I also like to see the DEX volume. So if you just come on the main screen here and you click add metrics, I like the TVL and DEX volume. Because when you're yield farming, the main thing is the DEX volume, right? Like you can see here on these days, in February, we had DEX volume of $20 billion, which means that the more volume there is, that's how we get paid, right? Volume equals fees being paid out to liquidity providers. So that is how we make our money. Now, the volume over the past few days has been very low, $3-4 billion. And that will sort of reflect our positions. So if we go over to VFAT to see these positions here, you can see we are still in range on every single one of these positions, and we have got $76 in earned rewards this week, which is slightly less than the previous weeks. The APR here is currently set at 40%. Now, this APR has been down pretty much all week, to be honest. I have seen this in some of these in like the 25%, some of them in 30, some of them in 40, but I think our overall APR for the majority of the week was around 35 to 40%, which was obviously is pretty low, which is why we haven't earned that sort of $80 here. Yeah, obviously some days it does spike, some days it drops, but we were sort of slow overall, but still 76 around that $80 a week mark. So if we check out the position I'm in, I am currently all in USDC and WETH Vaults over on Monad on Uniswap. So if we type that in, WETH to USDC, you can see there's currently $1.3 million of TVL here. They do have a Bitcoin position as well on the same chain, which if I find it, which is right here, 1.5 million. But the APR is pretty low. I mean, I like to do a minimum of a 30% wide range now, just for personal preference. And even at 30% range, you're looking at a 30% APR. I mean, I like that's like minimum for me. I prefer like 40, 50%. And if you're going to go to 50% range here, you're looking at an 18% APR. So cash flowing on Bitcoin just isn't really worth it for me right now with the sort of ranges. I would much prefer go into these Bitcoin positions. You can see all of my my ETH positions, are 50%, and then we have one at 60%. And these are consistently printing. They've been in range for almost 2 months now, which is nice. So let's go ahead and check out our Morpho Vault as well. So as you know, I am putting in all of my rewards on this Morpho Steakhouse Prime USDC Vault. The APY has dropped. It's currently at 3.89%. This was around high fours when I first jumped into this. We've earned a whopping 71 cents. Now, I am not doing this to claim this rewards. This extra rewards is nice, and I'm going to continue to add my weekly rewards in here. So this will be over $600 by the end of this video. But the reason I am doing this is because I am essentially waiting to bring over my Bitcoin to lend over on Aave, take a loan against that, and then put them back into more positions. So this 8.7k here is kind of fresh just stables that I had sitting around that I deployed. I do have more stables sitting around ready to deploy, which I'm just waiting for the market to kind of settle with everything going on with the war and whatnot before doing that, and then bringing over my Bitcoin to cash flow. And that will boost our daily rewards up massively. I'm thinking it will probably, if we stick with these pools, it will probably start at around $50 a day or so, with wide ranges, $1,000 a month passively. I literally check on this every Monday when I do the reports. I may check on it like, a couple of times in the evenings during the week. But realistically, I only, like the only work I'm doing on these positions is when I'm recording these videos, claiming, jumping into Morpho, like 15, 20 minutes of work a week. So yeah, that is the positions currently. And that is the Morpho update. We've earned 71 cents in earned interest. Again, not interested in this, just building the habits. I will eventually take this and start a new position with it. But for now, we're just kind of stacking there. And if you're also in these pools, by the way, I figured out why, like, for example, if I go to harvest and I harvest in USDC, for me, every sort of couple of weeks, there has been a couple of issues with this. Like, it's failed transactions every time I try and claim this. It'll probably do it now. It's just typical, isn't it? It will probably let me do it on this one. But I found if this happens to you and you can't harvest in USDC on the Monad chain, claim in harvest, yeah, you see simulation warning. The swap aggregator failed during simulation. So the way to get around this is just to harvest in Monad, okay? And it will do it pretty much first time. I can go ahead and claim this in Monad, and then I go ahead and swap the Monad for USDC. So I'm going to go ahead and claim all of the positions, swap it into USDC, and then I'm going to go bridge it over on Base so that we can get it into the Morpho Vault. So I'm going to pause the video, do that now, and yeah, I'll be back in a second. And just quickly as well, I like to use dBridge for bridging. So you can see we have our USDC here on Monad, $76. We're going to click max on that, and that's going to take it over to Base. So we hit confirm trade, and it will literally take a couple of seconds pretty instantly. This isn't a shill for dBridge, it's just very quick, and I've used it for many years, and it's simple, very easy to use. And yeah, that has pretty much been done already. So you can see our USDC balance has increased over here. So now we're going to go over to Morpho. Okay, we're going to click into the vault that I am already in, and we're going to wait for this to load, and then we are going to increase our amount in here. Now, this is the good thing with wide ranges, right? Because I haven't checked this at all over the past week. Really, I've checked it once or twice, and I am still, earning decent, like $80 a week just by doing absolute nothing. And this is just stacking up. We've now got $600 in rewards, which is a fairly decent chunk of change to have sat around in passive income. Just sat there in rewards waiting for me to do something with it. So we have now gone ahead and increased our position. If we refresh this, there we go. 607.6D9 is what we have in the vault now. So if we come over to vaults, in fact, if we close off this and we come over to the Steakhouse Prime USDC vault, if we just click in wallet, it should show us. No? Okay. Yeah, if we click dashboard, it will just bring you back to the page anyway. So there we go. 607 is what we have claimed in rewards now. And that would be a nice new position to open up. That would earn us an extra 50 cents or so per day, right? So I could go ahead and open that up in a new position. However, for now, I'm just stacking these rewards in here, letting it grow, letting it build. And that is pretty much it. We just earn $10 a day, $10 to $15 a day, depending on what the market's doing, with no stress, really. I mean, yes, the market is up and down, but we are super wide in my positions that it doesn't really matter too much, because I can withstand quite a big dip and quite a big pump. So I'm pretty happy with this. It's completely fine. There's a bunch of pools to go into. You don't have to just copy the ones I'm in. Pick a position that has a decent amount of TVL, and that has a good sort of range, so that you're not constantly rebalancing and hitting your impermanent loss and locking losses in. and an APR that you're happy with, cash flow that you're happy with, along with a decent TVL, and that is pretty much all you need to do. And then just monitor it. Like, this is what I'm doing. Like I said, I spend 15-20 minutes a week monitoring it, claiming my rewards. I don't really have to worry too much about rebalancing, versus when you're doing sort of really, really, really narrow ranges, you're sort of constantly thinking in the back of your mind, you're checking the charts and you're like, oh crap, Bitcoin's down 1% today. I better check my position because it might be out of range. That isn't really what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build a cash flow system in DeFi so that I don't have to constantly be monitoring. Like, it's kind of pointless if you're doing super tight ranges and literally having it open 24/7 whilst you're working on another screen. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't personally think that's the right way to build it. But everyone, does their own thing. I've made money on very, very tight ranges on a big pump before. I've lost money on very, very tight ranges. So it's gambling. It's kind of a risk when you're doing tight ranges. But there are strategies to make it work, but I wouldn't suggest it, is basically what I'm saying. But of course, do whatever you like. Like, I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm playing with 9 grand, for God's sake. So it's nothing too crazy. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Nothing really more to mention. Everything is smooth, everything is rolling. We've got 607 in the Morpho Vault now, which is starting to build up nicely. It'll be almost $700 by this time next week, and then we'll be looking at that first 1K in rewards within the next few weeks. So that's going to be it for the video. If you have enjoyed, make sure you smash a like, subscribe if you are new, and with that said, I will see you on the next video. Peace.